Retired Fire Captain Bill Thompson sits quietly in the corner booth of Benny's Diner on Main Street, reading his firefighting magazine over black coffee when a leather-clad biker towers over him and snarls, "Move it, old man. This is my table," before delivering a sharp slap across Bill's weathered cheek that echoes through the suddenly silent restaurant. If you love stories of bravery, camaraderie, and unsung heroes, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to catch our inspiring videos. Drop a comment below and share the moment that moved you most. On a quiet Wednesday morning, bathed in the warm golden glow of sunlight, William Bill Thompson, a retired firefighter, sits at his usual corner booth in Benny's Diner, nestled along the main drag of the small town of Oakwood, Ohio. A steaming mug of black coffee rests before him, its faint wisps of steam rising like memories from his years battling flames and smoke. Bill flips through the Oakwood Gazette, his sharp but calm gray eyes peering through slightly worn steel-framed glasses, his calloused hands gently smoothing the edges of the paper. He wears a red and blue plaid flannel shirt, paired with a weathered denim jacket adorned with a tiny firefighter's badge, so small it goes unnoticed by most. His old leather boots, though scuffed, are meticulously polished, catching glints of light from the diner's oak floor. Benny's Diner is the heart of Oakwood, a tight-knit town of fewer than 5,000 souls, where everyone knows each other's names and local stories are retold like cherished legends. Run by the Benny family for 3 generations, the diner exudes the cozy charm of a bygone era. Its oak-paneled walls are lined with faded photographs, snapshots of town festivals, high school baseball games, and historic firefighting efforts that shaped Oakwood's identity. Near the coffee counter, a striking black and white photo stands out. Bill Thompson in 1985, clad in soot-streaked firefighting gear, pulling a child from a burning house. Few connect the silver-haired man, quietly tucked in the corner, with the hero in that frame. For Bill, this booth is a sanctuary, a place to reflect on the years gone by, the fires he extinguished, and the lives he saved. For the past 7 years, every Wednesday morning, Bill has come here, ordering a black coffee and a slice of apple pie, chatting briefly with Jenny, the 22-year-old waitress with a radiant smile. He always leaves a generous tip, a habit from his working days when he understood the value of unsung labor. Jenny adores Bill, not just for his generosity but for the stories he shares, tales of facing flames, the brotherhood of his crew, and moments when he thought he wouldn't make it out alive. Today, though, something feels off in the diner. The radio hums a soft Johnny Cash tune, blending with the low murmurs of regular patrons. Farmers in overalls, truck drivers in ball caps, and factory workers grabbing a quick breakfast. Bill glances up from his paper, sensing a subtle unease, like the calm before a fire erupts. Bill Thompson joined the fire service right after high school in 1972, barely 18 years old. Raised in a working-class family on the outskirts of Cleveland, he grew up hearing tales of courage from his father, a steel mill worker, and lessons of compassion from his mother, a dedicated nurse. His calling to become a firefighter was sparked by a childhood memory. At 12, he watched a neighbor's house go up in flames one night. Frozen in his backyard, Bill saw firefighters charge into the inferno, emerging with a family of 4, safe and sound. That image, those fearless figures in gear, faces smudged with soot, etched itself into his mind, becoming the guiding flame of his life. Over 35 years as a firefighter, Bill faced hundreds of blazes, from cramped Cleveland apartments to abandoned rural warehouses in Ohio. He climbed high-rise ladders, hauled heavy hoses through smoke-choked corridors, and braved sudden explosions that made even his bravest colleagues hesitate. But Bill never faltered. He rose to captain, leading young firefighters with a steady hand, teaching them to stay cool under pressure, read the fire's path, and put others' lives above their own. Fire doesn't forgive, he'd tell them, but courage can conquer it. One of Bill's proudest moments came during the 1998 Oakwood factory fire. A chemical warehouse erupted in flames, and his teammate George Ramsey was trapped under debris. As others gave up hope, Bill charged through the fire, using raw strength and skill to drag George to safety, despite suffering severe burns to his arm and back. The scar on his left arm remains, faint but a testament to his loyalty. George, saved by Bill's bravery, often called him Oakwood's hero. Though Bill would just chuckle and say, "I was just doing my job." Retired for 7 years, Bill still carries the rugged build of a firefighter. His knees ache on rainy days, a reminder of years spent climbing ladders and hauling gear. During his career, he learned jujitsu to handle chaotic rescue situations, like restraining panicked victims in burning buildings. Though rarely used, he keeps those skills sharp with home workouts. Living alone in a modest house on Oakwood's outskirts, Bill tends a vegetable garden and occasionally attends reunions with his old fire crew. He shuns the spotlight, but those who worked with him know Bill is a true hero, one who always put the community first. The peaceful morning at Benny's Diner is shattered by the roar of a Harley-Davidson. Travis "Hawk" Malone, leader of the Steel Ravens motorcycle gang, pulls into the parking lot. Hawk is a giant, standing 6 feet 5 inches and weighing nearly 300 pounds, his arms covered in coiled cobra tattoos and scars from barroom brawls. His gleaming black leather jacket, heavy iron-toed boots clanking on the floor, an arrogant sneer unsettle everyone in the diner. The Steel Ravens have been a growing menace in Oakwood for nearly a year, vandalizing businesses, harassing locals, and using their loud bikes and leather-clad bravado to assert dominance wherever they go. Hawk embodies their reign of intimidation. Inside, the atmosphere shifts as Hawk struts through the door, his boots thumping against the oak floor. His jacket shines under the fluorescent lights, and his tattooed arms tell tales of fights and jail time. His crew loiters outside, their bikes lined up like predators in the lot, their laughter drifting through open windows. Hawk's eyes lock onto Bill's corner booth, his usual spot for holding court and flexing his authority. For 2 weeks, Bill has quietly moved to another table when Hawk showed up, avoiding trouble. But today, something in Bill's demeanor is different. He's faced fiercer flames than any bully, and he's not about to let his haven be taken over. The diner's regulars, farmers, truckers, and retirees watch in tense silence as Hawk approaches Bill's table. Jenny, the young waitress, pauses mid-pour, her coffee pot trembling. The jukebox plays a mournful Johnny Cash tune, its notes barely audible over the growing tension. Bill folds his newspaper deliberately, setting it down with a calm that belies the storm brewing inside. He's seen too much to be rattled by a loudmouth like Hawk, but he knows this moment is pivotal. It's not just about a booth, it's about standing up to a bully who thinks he can rule through fear. Hawk looms over Bill's booth, his shadow casting a dark veil across the worn formica surface. "Get up, old man," he growls, his voice heavy with the weight of a man used to getting his way. "This is my spot now." Outside, his gang leans against their bikes, chuckling and watching the scene through the diner's windows. Bill looks up, his gray eyes steady, and responds in a measured tone. "I've been sitting here every Wednesday for 7 years, son. Plenty of other tables around. Why don't you pick one?" His voice is calm, almost gentle, but carries a steely edge, honed by decades of facing danger without flinching. The diner falls silent, the clatter of dishes and hum of conversation replaced by a heavy stillness. Jenny clutches the coffee pot tighter, her eyes darting between Bill and Hawk. The other patrons exchange nervous glances, sensing the confrontation is about to escalate. Hawk's face flushes red, his pride stung by the quiet defiance of an old man. He's not used to being challenged, especially not in front of his crew. "You deaf, Grandpa?" he barks, his voice loud enough to make a young couple at a nearby booth flinch. "I said move." He leans closer, his breath hot with the stench of cheap whiskey, his massive hands gripping the table's edge. The air crackles with tension, like the moment before a fire ignites. Bill doesn't budge. He leans back in his chair, hands resting calmly on the table. "I heard you," he says, his voice unwavering, "but I'm not moving. This is my spot and I'm staying put." His words are simple but carry the weight of a man who spent his life standing up to forces far more dangerous than Hawk. The patrons hold their breath, waiting for the inevitable explosion. Bill's unwavering resolve, like a smoldering ember, sparks Hawk's rage. The hulking biker, his face red with fury at being defied in front of his crew, loses control. In a flash of anger, Hawk swings his massive hand, delivering a sharp, resounding slap across Bill's face. The crack of the impact echoes through Benny's diner like a gunshot, startling everyone. Bill's steel-framed glasses fly off, skidding across the oak floor, spinning several times before stopping near a stunned patron's foot. A burning sting spreads across Bill's cheek, a vivid red mark blooming on his weathered skin, a public badge of humiliation. Jenny, the young waitress, lets out a cry of shock, her trembling hands dropping a white ceramic mug onto the counter, its shards scattering like the broken pieces of the diner's peace. In the far corner, a young mother pulls her 2 children close, shielding their eyes from the violence. An 8-year-old boy with tousled brown hair looks up at his mother, his innocent voice trembling. "Mom, why did he hit the old man?" The air in the diner freezes, thick with tension, as Johnny Cash's fulsome prison blues fades into a distant whisper, underscoring the injustice that just unfolded. The physical pain, though searing, is nothing compared to the wound to Bill's pride. The public humiliation, under the eyes of Jenny, Benny, and the diner's regulars, cuts deeper than any blade. He feels their gazes, curious, fearful, and tinged with hope, waiting to see how this silver-haired man will respond. In that moment, memories of his Cleveland childhood flood back, vivid as an unquenched flame. He recalls standing up to a schoolyard bully at 12, under his father's proud gaze. "Never let a bully win, Bill," his father had said, his warm voice echoing across decades. He thinks of the young firefighters he mentored, who saw him as a beacon of courage and honor. He thinks of George Ramsey, the teammate he risked his life to save in the 1998 factory fire, when black smoke choked the sky. Above all, he thinks of the values that shaped his life: honor, duty, and unyielding resolve. Letting this humiliation pass would betray not just himself but everything he stands for. Bill takes a deep breath, his hands gripping the table's edge, his eyes sharpening with steely determination, like a firefighter bracing for an uncontrollable blaze. Bill, with the calm forged from decades of facing danger, slowly bends down to retrieve his steel-framed glasses from the floor. He inspects them with calloused fingers, ensuring they're undamaged, then slides them back onto his weathered face. His hands are steady, though adrenaline surges through his veins, his heart pounding like it did when he rushed into burning buildings. He looks up, locking eyes with Hawk, his gaze fearless, as if the 300-pound giant is just another fire to extinguish. Without a word, Bill pulls his old flip phone from his denim jacket pocket, his fingers moving deliberately. He dials George Ramsey, his teammate who's shared countless battles. The call is brief, his voice low and steady. "George, I'm at Benny's. Trouble's brewing. Need you and the crew here pronto." He hangs up, his eyes never leaving Hawk's, as if silently saying, "You don't know who you're messing with, kid." Hawk lets out a harsh, mocking laugh that reverberates through the diner. "Calling the cops, old man?" He sneers, his voice dripping with the arrogance of someone used to bullying his way through life. "Oakwood's cops can't touch me. I've dealt with them before." The Steel Ravens have intimidated the local police with threats and vandalism, often getting away with their antics. But Bill isn't calling the cops. He's summoning the brothers in arms who faced death alongside him, men who know the true meaning of loyalty and honor. Jenny, behind the counter, watches Bill with a mix of worry and faint hope. Mr. Henderson, a retired teacher at a nearby table, whispers to his companion, "Bill Thompson's not one to back down. I've seen him face worse than this." The diner remains tense, but a glimmer of hope flickers in the patrons' eyes, as if they sense a turning point in this unfolding drama. Hawk, brimming with self-assured dominance, plops down at Bill's booth, draping his glossy black leather jacket over the seat like a conqueror claiming his throne. He barks an order for the priciest steak on the menu, yelling at Jenny with disdain. "Hurry it up, sweetheart. I ain't got all day." He brags loudly about the Steel Raven's power, spinning exaggerated tales of bar fights and teaching idiots lessons on deserted roads outside town. His crew outside laughs uproariously, revving their bikes occasionally as if cheering their leader on. The diner's atmosphere grows heavier, as if hawks sucking the air out of the room, replacing it with menace and bravado. Some patrons, including an elderly couple and a family with kids, hastily pay their bills and slip out, eyes down to avoid trouble. Benny, the diner's owner, stands behind the counter, wiping a glass with shaky hands, torn between calling the police and recalling the time Hawk trashed a chair to send a message, which makes him hesitate, fearing intervention might worsen things. Bill, masking his emotions, moves to a small table by the window, where he can keep an eye on the parking lot and Main Street. He orders another coffee, his voice calm, as if nothing's amiss. But his eyes stay fixed on Hawk, sharp and focused, like a firefighter timing the perfect moment to tackle a blaze. His cheek still stings, the red mark still visible, but he pays it no mind. He senses the anxious gazes of other patrons. Jenny, Benny, the Hendersons, expecting him to act, to reclaim his dignity. Mrs. Henderson, the retired teacher's wife, whispers to her husband with quiet confidence. Bill's not one to give in. I bet he's got something up his sleeve. But Bill just offers a faint smile, sips his coffee, and waits, his gaze trained on the road, as if he's already seen how this story ends. He's in no rush, no panic. Years of fighting fires have taught him that the right moment will come, and when it does, he'll be ready. The distant wail of sirens slices through the stifling air of Benny's diner like a sharp blade. 3 vintage fire trucks, their red paint faded but proud, roll into the parking lot, drawing every eye in the place. 10 retired firefighters, led by George Ramsey, step out, their presence commanding instant respect. They wear faded t-shirts bearing the Oakwood Fire Department logo, their weathered faces stern yet resolute, like warriors who never abandon their post. George, 68, with salt and pepper hair and a gravelly voice that booms like thunder, directs the group with the precision of a former fire chief. They swiftly surround Hawk's crew in the parking lot, subduing them with skills honed over years of service. Some are restrained with zip ties, others frozen in place, cowed by the firefighters' calm, imposing authority. Not a single punch is thrown, but their presence alone strips the gang of their bravado. Inside, the mood shifts like a cool breeze sweeping through. Hawk looks up from his steak, his smug grin fading as he peers through the window and sees his crew neutralized. Jenny, behind the counter, flashes a relieved smile, her hands steadying. Benny lets out a soft chuckle, as if a weight's been lifted. Patrons begin to whisper excitedly, some clapping quietly, as if cheering an unexpected performance. The firefighters stand in formation outside, their steely gazes fixed on Hawk, silently declaring, "You picked the wrong guy to mess with." Bill remains seated at his table by the window, sipping his coffee, his expression unchanged but his heart racing with anticipation. He knows his brothers-in-arms have his back, just as they always have, and the moment he's been waiting for is near. With his crew subdued in the parking lot, Hawk stands, his bravado crumbling, his voice trembling despite his efforts to appear defiant. Bill rises slowly, approaching him with the steady gait of a firefighter walking into a blaze. The diner falls deathly silent, every eye glued to the 2 men, the air thick with anticipation. Hawk, desperate to save face, throws a wild punch, aiming for Bill's face. But Bill, with the astonishing agility of someone who trained in jiu-jitsu for high-stakes rescues, blocks the blow with his left arm, seizes Hawk's wrist with his right, and flips him onto the floor in 3 precise moves. The thud of Hawk's 300-pound frame hitting the oak floor reverberates through the diner, shaking the room. Pinned by Bill's jujitsu hold, the giant lies helpless, unable to move a muscle. The crowd gasps, stunned by the old man's prowess. Jenny covers her mouth, her eyes shining with awe, tears welling up. Benny lets out a loud whoop, slamming his hand on the counter. Some patrons, including the Hendersons, start clapping, the sound swelling like a wave across the diner. George bursts into the diner, his old boots clacking on the floor. His face is a storm of anger and anguish as his eyes lock onto Hawk, still pinned beneath Bill. "Travis?" he chokes out, his voice breaking like a man stabbed in the heart. Hawk is his grandson, a wayward kid he'd hoped would find his way. George storms over, his face flushed with rage and disappointment. He delivers 3 sharp slaps to Hawk's face, the sound ringing out like cracks of thunder, each one a rebuke not just for Hawk, but for George's own failure to guide him. "This is Bill Thompson, the man who saved my life in the '98 fire," George roars, his voice trembling with emotion. "You dare lay a hand on my brother?" Hawk, trembling, looks away, tears streaming down his face. Not from pain, but from shame. The crowd erupts. Some cheer wildly, others wipe away tears, moved by the shocking revelation. Jenny, behind the counter, sobs, clutching her apron to stifle her emotions. Benny shakes his head, muttering, "Can't believe it. That punk's George's grandson." Bill releases Hawk, standing tall and adjusting his glasses with a quiet dignity. He smooths his denim jacket and speaks, his voice deep and resonant, like a teacher imparting a hard-earned lesson. "Strength isn't about hitting harder, Travis. It's about how you live, how you treat others, and how you rise after you fall." Hawk, pale and red-eyed with shame, mumbles an apology, his voice shaky like a scolded child's. He pulls a crumpled $50 bill from his pocket, leaves it on the table to cover Bill's coffee, and slinks out, head bowed, unable to meet anyone's gaze. The Steel Ravens, released by the firefighters, quietly mount their bikes and ride off, their engines fading into the morning air. Word of the incident spreads through Oakwood like wildfire. 2 weeks later, the mayor hosts a grand ceremony in the town square, where hundreds gather under the golden glow of autumn sunlight. Bill is awarded Citizen of the Year, his name engraved on a plaque placed in the town park. The Oakwood Gazette runs a front-page feature, chronicling Bill's courage, not just that day, but across his 35-year firefighting career. The story focuses not on the conflict, but on how Bill inspired the community, reminding them of the enduring value of loyalty, honor, and courage that age cannot dim. The Steel Ravens leave Oakwood for good, seeking easier turf, too ashamed to return. Hawk sends Bill a handwritten letter, apologizing and vowing to turn his life around by joining a volunteer firefighting program, inspired by his grandfather and Bill. Bill and George start meeting every Wednesday at Benny's, turning the corner booth into the firefighters' table, a gathering spot for retired firefighters to swap stories of blazes and brotherhood. Jenny refuses Bill's money, insisting it's her way of saying thanks for standing up for the diner. A local optometrist, touched by the story, replaces Bill's glasses with a sturdier titanium pair, free of charge. Bill quips, with a rare grin, "Sometimes, you gotta lose something to see things clearer." The story ripples through Oakwood, becoming a local legend, shared at family gatherings, bars, and school assemblies. It's a reminder that courage never fades with age, and true strength lies in dignity, brotherhood, and standing firm for what's right, even when the world's watching.